The surrender negotiations took place on a space station orbiting Earth. The Vorthak Empire had requested neutral ground, but humans pointed out that there was no such thing as neutral ground in their solar system. Everything belonged to humanity, now. Ambassador Kang Yuri sat across the table from the Vorthak High Commander, a tall, silver-skinned alien whose 4 arms were folded in what appeared to be either frustration or resignation. Behind the alien stood his remaining officers, survivors of what had been the largest invasion fleet in galactic history. "We accept defeat," the High Commander said in perfect English. "Your species has proven superior in warfare. We request permission to leave your solar system and return to our territory." Ambassador Yuri smiled politely. "Of course. But first we need to clear up a small misunderstanding." Colonel Bei Jae-sung entered the room carrying a large briefcase filled with classified documents. As head of military intelligence, he had been keeping track of humanity's real military capabilities throughout the war. "High Commander," Yuri continued, "you believe you just fought a war against Earth's military forces. That's not entirely accurate." The alien commander looked confused. "What do you mean?" Colonel Jae-sung opened his briefcase and spread documents. Across the negotiation table, star charts, ship manifests, production schedules, and military deployment records. "What you fought," Jae-sung explained, "was our local defense force, our home guard, the equivalent of what your species would call planetary police." The silence in the room was complete. Even the human diplomatic staff looked surprised. "That's impossible," the alien commander said. "You deployed thousands of ships, advanced weapons, tactics we'd never seen before." "All true," Yuri agreed. "But you need to understand something about humanity. We've been preparing for this war for our entire history, just not against aliens. We've been preparing to fight each other." She gestured to the star charts. "Every weapon you encountered, every tactic that confused you, every strategy that defeated your forces, we developed all of that for fighting other humans. You just happened to be the first non-human species to test them." Director Ro In-ho entered the room, wheeling in a large display screen. As head of industrial defense, he had been coordinating Earth's military production during the war. "High Commander," he said, activating the screen, "let me show you what humanity was doing while you were attacking our solar system." The screen displayed construction sites throughout the outer solar system. Massive shipyards hidden behind Jupiter's moons, weapon factories built inside asteroids, fleet formations stationed beyond Pluto that dwarfed anything the aliens had seen during the war. "We've been building our real navy in secret for the past 50 years, In-ho explained. "What you fought was just our testing and training fleet." The alien commander stared at the display with growing horror. "How many ships do you actually have?" "Honestly?" In-ho shrugged. "We stopped counting when we reached 1 million, but we estimate somewhere between 5 and 10 million combat vessels, not counting support ships, civilian auxiliaries, or the special projects." "Special projects?" Lieutenant Commander Park Sung-hee stepped forward. As Fleet Communications Officer, she had been monitoring transmissions throughout the galaxy during the war. "We've been in contact with other species," she explained. "Civilizations that the Vorthak Empire has conquered or threatened. It turns out there are a lot of them, and they're very interested in learning human military tactics." She activated another display showing communication logs from across the galaxy. "While you were fighting us," Sung-hee continued, "we were teaching rebellion to every species in your empire. Your homeworlds are probably dealing with uprisings right now, all organized using strategies they learned by watching how humans fight." The alien commander looked like he was about to collapse. You turned our invasion into a training exercise for galactic revolution." "Not exactly," Ambassador Yuri said. "We turned your invasion into entertainment. The revolution was just a bonus." She showed him recordings of human media coverage during the war. News broadcasts that treated space battles like sporting events. Comedy shows that made jokes about alien tactics. Children's programs that taught basic military strategy as educational content. "Your invasion was broadcast live across human space," Yuri explained. Billions of people watched every battle, cheered for our soldiers, and placed bets on which tactics would work best. You gave us the greatest show in human history. The alien officers behind their commander began making sounds that Yuri's translation device couldn't interpret. They might have been crying or laughing or having some kind of breakdown. But here's what you really need to understand, Yuri continued. We didn't fight this war to defeat you. We fought it to test ourselves, to see if we were ready for what comes next. What comes next? The alien commander asked, though he sounded like he didn't really want to know. Colonel Jae Sung spread out another set of documents. These showed star charts of the entire galaxy, with routes marked between different solar systems. Humanity is leaving Earth, he announced. Not because we have to, but because we want to. We're going to spread out across the galaxy, establish colonies, meet new species, and yes, probably get into more fights. You're invading the galaxy? No, Yuri corrected. We're joining it. But here's the thing about humans. We don't just join things, we transform them. We're going to turn the galaxy into the biggest playground in the universe. She leaned forward across the negotiation table. Every species we meet is going to have a choice. They can welcome us as friends, in which case we'll share our technology, our culture, and our protection. Or they can challenge us as enemies, in which case we'll give them the greatest fight of their lives. And if they want nothing to do with you, then we'll respect that and leave them alone. But we'll also make sure everyone in the galaxy knows exactly where to find us if they ever want to test their strength against the species that defeated the Vorthak Empire. Lieutenant Commander Sung-hee activated her communication array and broadcast a message on all galactic frequencies. Attention, all species. Her voice carried across the galaxy. This is humanity, broadcasting from the Sol system. The Vorthak invasion has ended. We are now accepting applications from any civilization that wants to participate in future military exercises, combat sports, strategic competitions, and friendly wars available by appointment. Prizes include advanced technology, cultural exchange, and the greatest stories your species will ever have to tell. The alien commander listened to this broadcast with the expression of someone watching their worst nightmare come true. You're turning warfare into recreation, he said. We already did that thousands of years ago, Yuri replied. Now we're just sharing the fun with the rest of the galaxy. She stood up and extended her hand toward the alien commander. Hi, Commander. On behalf of humanity, I want to thank you for the excellent training exercise. Your invasion helped us identify weaknesses in our defensive systems, test new weapons designs, and prepare our people for future challenges. You should be proud of your contribution to human military development. The alien commander stared at her outstretched hand for a long moment before reluctantly shaking it. What happens to the Vorthak Empire now? He asked. Whatever you want, Yuri said. You're free to return to your territory and continue your civilization. But you might want to consider a new approach to interstellar relations. The galaxy is changing, and species that rely on conquest and intimidation are going to have problems with humanity. As the alien delegation prepared to leave, Director Inho made one final announcement. Hi, Commander. Before you go, we have a gift for you. He handed the alien a small device that looked like a simple communication tablet. This contains complete records of your invasion, from both human and alien perspectives. Combat footage, tactical analyses, personal stories from soldiers on both sides. We thought your species might want to study it. Why would you give this to us? Because, Inho smiled, if you ever decide you want a rematch, we want you to come prepared. It's no fun if the opponent doesn't know what they're getting into. The alien commander left the space station carrying humanity's gift, followed by his surviving officers and the remnants of what had once been the galaxy's most feared military force. As their ships departed, Ambassador Yuri broadcast one final message to the galaxy. This is humanity, signing off from our first interstellar war. To all species listening, we hope this demonstration has been educational. We look forward to meeting you all, whether as friends or as opponents in future conflicts. Remember, the Sol system is always open to visitors, especially those looking for a good fight. And to the Vorthak Empire specifically, she added. Thank you for welcoming us to the galactic community. Come back anytime you want to play. As the alien ships disappeared into hyperspace, humans across the solar system began planning their next adventure. The galaxy was vast, full of unexplored worlds and unknown species, and humanity had just announced to everyone in the universe that they were coming to visit. The aliens had declared war on Earth, thinking they would destroy a dangerous species before it could spread. Instead, they had given humanity exactly what it needed: proof that they were ready to take their unique brand of. The Vorthak Empire had made their final decision. After months of guerrilla warfare and psychological attacks, they were going to throw everything they had at Earth itself. Every ship, every weapon, every warrior in their fleet would participate in one massive assault that would end the war once and for all. General Jang Boram stood on the observation deck of the Sol defense platform, watching the alien armada approach Earth. The sight was both terrifying and beautiful. 50,000 ships filled the space between Earth and the Moon, their weapons charged and ready to turn the planet into dust. "Sir," reported Colonel Kim from the command center, "all planetary defenses are ready. The shield generators are at full power. The orbital weapons platforms are loaded and targeted." "What about civilian evacuation?" Boram asked. "That's the interesting part, sir. Nobody wants to evacuate. The evacuation centers are empty, but the weapon factories are working. Overtime. We have grandmothers volunteering to load artillery shells and children asking if they can help aim the missiles." This was typical of how humans had responded to the war. Instead of running from danger, they ran toward it. Flight leader Shin Kyung-ho was preparing his atmospheric fighters for what everyone knew would be the most dangerous battle of the war. His squadrons would have to fight alien ships in Earth's atmosphere, where one mistake could destroy a city. "Remember," he told his pilots as they performed final equipment checks, "we're not just defending our planet. We're putting on a show for the entire galaxy. Make it spectacular." The pilots cheered and ran to their fighters. They had trained their entire lives for this moment, and they were going to make it count. Dr. Moon Sang-wook was in his laboratory, making final preparations for his ultimate psychological weapon. He called it the humanity bomb, and it was designed to broadcast the entire history of human culture directly into the alien collective consciousness. "Are you sure this will work?" asked his assistant as they loaded thousands of hours of human art, music, literature, and personal memories into the transmission system. "It has to work," Sang-wook replied. "The aliens think they understand us because they've been watching us for 100 years. But watching humans isn't the same as being human. They're about to learn what it really feels like to experience human emotions." The assault began at dawn, Earth time. Alien ships descended from orbit like a metallic rain, their weapons lighting up the sky. But instead of the easy victory they expected, the Vorthak found themselves facing something they had never encountered before. Earth itself had become a weapon. Every mountain peak was actually a disguised missile launcher. Every lake contained hidden submarines with alien hunting torpedoes. Every city was surrounded by defense platforms that looked like office buildings, but were actually fortress cannons capable of destroying capital ships. "This is impossible," said the Vorthak commander as his ships took heavy damage from weapons that shouldn't exist. "Their planet has more firepower than some of our battle fleets." What the aliens didn't realize was that humans had spent the last 6 months turning their entire world into the galaxy's most dangerous trap. Flight leader Kyung-ho led his atmospheric fighters in diving attacks that used Earth's gravity well as a weapon. His pilots would dive down from orbit, use the planet's rotation to build speed, then climb back up to attack alien ships from below. "Remember," he broadcast to his squadrons, "we're not just flying. We're dancing with physics." The alien ships tried to follow the human fighters into the atmosphere, but their pilots had never learned to fly in changing gravity and weather conditions. Human fighters used storms as cover, flew through clouds to confuse alien sensors, and even used flocks of migrating birds as natural camouflage. Meanwhile, Dr. Sang-wook activated his humanity bomb. The effect on the alien fleet was immediate and overwhelming. Thousands of alien minds suddenly experienced human emotions they had never felt before: love, Loneliness, hope, despair, joy, anger. All of it flooded into their collective consciousness at the same time. Alien ships began flying erratically as their pilots were overwhelmed by human feelings. Some aliens started crying even though their species had never developed tears. Others began laughing uncontrollably as they experienced humor for the first time. "What's happening to us?" the alien commander demanded as his own vision blurred with unfamiliar emotions. "Sir," his second-in-command replied, tears streaming down his face. I think I understand why humans write poetry." This was exactly what Dr. Sang-wook had hoped for. The aliens were experiencing the full range of human emotional complexity, and their rigid minds couldn't handle it. But the strangest part of the battle was what happened on the ground. As alien ships crashed into Earth's cities, the surviving civilians didn't run for shelter. They picked up weapons and joined the fight. In New York, office workers used construction equipment to attack alien ground troops. In Tokyo, sushi chefs used their knives as weapons with deadly precision. In London, soccer fans organized into military units and attacked alien positions while singing fight songs. In Seoul, a group of students had turned their university into a fortress and were holding off an entire alien battalion using homemade explosives and tactical knowledge learned from video games. "This doesn't make sense," said the alien ground commander to his troops. "Why are civilians fighting like trained soldiers?" The answer came from an elderly Korean woman who threw a grenade at his position while shouting, "Because this is our home, you metal-faced idiots." The aliens had expected to fight Earth's military. Instead, they found themselves fighting Earth's entire population. General Boram was coordinating the planetary defense from the Seoul Command Center when he received a message that changed everything. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "we're getting a transmission from the Deep Space Monitoring Station. There are more ships coming." "More alien ships?" "No, sir. Human ships. Lots of them." Boram stared at the tactical display in confusion. The screen showed massive ships approaching from the outer solar system. Ships that were larger and more advanced than anything in Earth's official fleet. "Where did those come from?" he asked. Before anyone could answer, the ships opened fire on the alien fleet. But these weren't ordinary human weapons. These were energy weapons that seemed to bend space itself, turning alien ships inside out with impossible physics. Admiral Hyun-soo's voice came through the communication system from Luna Command. "General Boram," he said, "I think it's time we told the aliens the truth about humanity's military capabilities." The new human ships tore through the alien fleet like wolves attacking sheep. In minutes, the massive Vorthak armada was reduced to scattered, fleeing survivors. "Sir," the alien commander transmitted to his home planet, "we need immediate evacuation. The humans have revealed their true fleet. Everything we thought we knew about their military strength was wrong." "How wrong?" came the reply from the Vorthak homeworld. "We thought we were fighting their entire navy. Apparently, we were fighting their local police force." As the battle ended, the aliens found themselves surrounded by human ships that had appeared from nowhere. Not just the mysterious new fleet, but thousands of vessels that had been hidden throughout the solar system. General Boram received another transmission, this time from President Minho himself. "All forces, this is the President. The aliens have requested a ceasefire. They want to negotiate the terms of their surrender." "Are we going to accept?" Boram asked. "Of course," the President replied. "But first, we need to explain to them what they've actually been fighting." Dr. A-Ra was monitoring alien communications when she heard something that made her laugh out loud. "Admiral Hyun-soo," she called, "you need to hear this. The aliens are talking to each other about us." She played the intercepted transmission. "How many ships do the humans actually have?" one alien commander was asking. "We don't know," came the reply. "Every time we think we've seen their full strength, more ships appear. It's like their entire solar system is one giant military base. But their planet only has 8 billion people. How can they have so many ships?" "Maybe," came a third voice. "We should have asked how many humans there really are before we started this war." This was the question that terrified the aliens most. They had been watching Earth for 100 years, but they were beginning to suspect that everything they had seen was just the surface of something much larger. As alien ships limped away from Earth, carrying news of their defeat to the rest of the galaxy, humans celebrated in their own unique way. They threw parties on the battlefield. Street festivals broke out in cities that had been under attack hours before. Musicians played concerts on the steps of damaged buildings. Artists painted murals depicting the space battle on walls that still had scorch marks from alien weapons. "You know," General Boram said to his staff as they watched the celebration, "I think we just taught the galaxy something important about humanity." "What's that, sir?" "We don't just fight wars. We throw parties during wars, and that might be the most terrifying thing of all." After the Battle of Mars, everything changed. The aliens had expected to fight a traditional war with clear battle lines and predictable tactics. Instead, they found themselves facing something much worse: humans who refused to fight fair. Admiral Hyun-soo stood in the command center on Luna, looking at a map of the solar system covered in red and blue dots. The red dots were alien ships. The blue dots were human forces. There were 10 times as many red dots, but somehow the blue ones kept winning. "Report," Hyun-soo said to his intelligence officer. "The aliens are getting frustrated, sir. They've sent 3 more fleets, but they can't seem to pin down our forces long enough to fight a proper battle." This was exactly what Hyun-soo had hoped for. Instead of fighting the kind of war the aliens wanted, humanity had decided to make up their own rules. Captain Song Woo-jin was the perfect example of this new kind of warfare. He commanded a small group of ships called the Pack Hunters, and they fought more like pirates than soldiers. "Targets acquired," Woo-jin announced to his crew as they drifted silently through the asteroid belt. 3 alien supply ships were passing through, carrying food and ammunition to the main fleet. "Remember the plan," he told his pilots. "We hit fast, we hit hard, and we disappear before they know what happened." The Pack Hunters attacked from 6 different directions at once. They destroyed the supply ships in less than 2 minutes, then scattered like leaves in the wind before the alien escort ships could respond. "Pack leader to base," Woo-jin transmitted as his ship hid behind a large asteroid. 3 packages delivered. Moving to next target. This was happening all over the solar system. Small groups of human ships would appear out of nowhere, destroy something important, and vanish again. The aliens never knew where the next attack would come from. Technician Lim Na-young was responsible for some of the strangest attacks of the war. She worked in a secret facility on the far side of the moon, developing what she called virus bombs. "The aliens think their computer systems are perfect," she explained to her team. "They've never encountered malicious software because their species doesn't have the concept of lying to computers." She showed them her latest creation on a computer screen. It looked like a simple geometric pattern, but it was actually a virus that could infect alien ship systems. "When this gets into their network," Na-young continued, "it starts playing human music through their speakers. Just simple pop songs at first, but it gets louder and more chaotic until their crew can't concentrate on flying the ship." "That's insane," said her assistant. "Exactly. That's why it works." The virus bombs were delivered by human fighters that would get close enough to alien ships to transmit the malicious software, then escape while the aliens tried to figure out why their ships were suddenly playing Korean pop music at maximum volume. But the strangest part of the war was what happened to civilian ships. The aliens expected human merchants and passenger vessels to run away when they saw Vorthak warships. Instead, the civilians started fighting back. Captain Park was commanding a cargo ship carrying supplies to the outer planets when his sensors detected an alien patrol. His ship had no weapons and no armor. By all logic, he should have surrendered or tried to escape. Instead, he did something the aliens never expected. "This is Captain Park of the merchant vessel New Seoul." He broadcast on all frequencies, including alien channels. "I'm carrying 10,000 tons of fertilizer and industrial chemicals. If you attack me, this ship becomes the biggest bomb in the solar system." The alien patrol backed away. They had studied human technology, but they hadn't studied human creativity. They didn't know that humans could turn a cargo ship into a weapon just by being willing to explode. This became the new standard for human civilian vessels. Passenger ships carried emergency fireworks that were actually missiles. Research vessels developed scientific experiments that could destroy alien ships. Even space tourists started carrying weapons for protection against space pirates. The aliens found themselves fighting not just the human military, but every human in space. "This is impossible," complained the Vorthak fleet commander to his staff. "How can we fight an entire species where every individual is a potential weapon?" "Sir," his intelligence officer replied, "we're receiving reports from all sectors. The humans are using tactics we've never seen. They're turning their own infrastructure into weapons. Their space stations are actually hidden fortresses. Their mining ships are actually disguised warships. Even their communications satellites are armed." This wasn't entirely true, but the aliens believed it because humans had made it seem true. Every human facility in space had been modified to look dangerous, even if it was just a research station studying space flowers. The most successful human tactic was psychological warfare. Dr. Moon Sang-wook had developed a way to broadcast human thoughts directly into alien computer systems. "The aliens share a collective consciousness," he explained to Admiral Hyun-soo during a video call. "They're all connected to each other through their technology, but that connection is also their weakness." "How so?" "When one alien experiences something confusing or disturbing, they all feel it. So we've been broadcasting human dreams, human nightmares, and human emotions directly into their network." The results were devastating for the alien fleet. Vorthak warriors who had never experienced individual fear suddenly found themselves terrified of the dark. Aliens who had never felt loneliness began crying for no reason. Commanders who had always made logical decisions started making choices based on human emotions they couldn't understand. "Yesterday," Dr. Sang-wook continued, "we transmitted a recording of children laughing during a birthday party. 3 alien ships crashed into asteroids because their pilots were too confused by the concept of joy to navigate properly. But the most effective psychological weapon was something much simpler: human music. The aliens had expected to hear war drums or battle hymns. Instead, human ships broadcast everything from classical symphonies to death metal to lullabies. The chaos of human musical creativity overloaded alien computer systems that were designed for order and logic. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Park from Luna Command, "the aliens just sent another message. They're asking us to please stop playing music during battles because it's interfering with their targeting systems." Admiral Hyun-soo laughed. "Send them our reply, the music stays. If they don't like it, they can surrender." The aliens were becoming desperate. They had brought their entire fleet to the solar system, but instead of conquering Earth quickly, they were stuck in a war they couldn't understand. Every day, they lost ships to human attacks that made no military sense. Human forces would sacrifice valuable resources just to play practical jokes on alien commanders. They would risk their lives to spray paint insulting messages on alien hulls. They would abandon strategic positions just to rescue a single human prisoner. "They're not fighting like soldiers," the alien commander told his superiors during a secure transmission. "They're fighting like this is some kind of game. They take impossible risks for no logical reason. They make tactical decisions based on what will be most entertaining." This was exactly right. Humans had turned the war into the ultimate sport, and they were having the time of their lives. Captain Wu Jin and his pack hunters had just completed their most daring raid yet. They had snuck into the middle of the alien fleet, stolen an entire supply depot, and escaped by hiding their ships inside the stolen alien cargo containers. "Pack leader to all units," Wu Jin broadcast. "Mission successful. We now have enough alien food to last 6 months plus their entire stockpile of replacement parts." "What should we do with it?" asked his second-in-command. "Eat the food, study the parts, and send the aliens a thank you note." This was the final insult that broke the aliens' morale. Not only were humans defeating superior technology through sheer unpredictability, they were being polite about it. The Vorthak Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds using fear and overwhelming force. They had never encountered a species that responded to military invasion by sending thank you notes for the entertainment. "Sir," The alien intelligence officer reported to his commander. "We've intercepted another human transmission. They're inviting us to a peace conference." "Finally," the commander said with relief. "They want to surrender." "Not exactly, sir. They want to negotiate the terms of our surrender. They're offering to let us leave the solar system with our ships and our dignity intact, as long as we promise to tell other species about how much fun it was to fight humans." The commander stared at the message in disbelief. Humanity had turned the greatest invasion in galactic history into a recruitment advertisement for future wars. The first battle of the war began at Mars. The red planet had always been humanity's first step toward the stars, and now it would be the place where humans and aliens met for the first time in combat. Commander Oh Tai-hyun stood on the bridge of the Mars Defense Station, watching the alien fleet approach through the massive viewing window. 2,000 Vorthak ships moved in perfect formation, their black hulls reflecting the light from the distant sun. "They're beautiful," said Lieutenant Ko Ye-jin, who was checking her fighters' weapons one last time. "Almost a shame we have to blow them up." "Don't feel too bad about it," Tae-hyun replied. "I'm sure they feel the same way about us." The human defense force at Mars was much smaller than the alien fleet. Only 50 ships, 200 fighters, and the orbital defense platforms that had been secretly built over the past 6 months. By any reasonable calculation, the humans should have been wiped out in minutes, but Tae-hyun wasn't planning to fight a reasonable battle. "All stations, this is Commander Oh," he broadcast to every human in the Mars system. "Today we begin Operation Anvil. Remember your training. The aliens expect us to run when they attack. Instead, we're going to do something they'll never expect." He paused, looking out at the approaching alien fleet. "We're going to attack them." The Vorthak fleet commander was studying his tactical display when the humans began moving. According to his calculations, the human ships should retreat to a defensive position behind Mars. Instead, they were accelerating directly toward his fleet. "Are they trying to surrender?" asked his second-in-command. "No," the commander replied. "I think they're trying to ram us." This was not entirely wrong. Lieutenant Ye-jin was indeed flying her fighter straight at the largest alien ship she could find. But ramming wasn't her plan. Her plan was much more interesting. "Ghost leader to all fighters," she broadcast to her squadron. "Remember what Captain So-young taught us. The aliens think in straight lines, so we're going to think in spirals." Her fighter began spinning as it flew, moving in a corkscrew pattern that made it almost impossible to track. The other human fighters copied her movements, and soon the space around Mars looked like a swarm of metallic dancers performing an impossible ballet. The alien weapon systems couldn't lock onto targets that moved in such chaotic patterns. Their computers tried to predict where the human fighters would be next, but humans kept changing direction for no logical reason. "This is impossible," the Vorthak fleet commander said. "How can we fight an enemy that doesn't follow the laws of physics?" "Sir," his weapons officer replied, "they are following the laws of physics. They're just doing it in ways we never considered." Meanwhile, Sergeant Major Kim Soo-bin was preparing for the most dangerous part of the battle plan, while the fighters kept the aliens confused. Her team of Marines was going to board one of the alien ships. "Remember," she told her squad as they climbed into their assault shuttle, "we're not trying to capture the ship. We're trying to learn how it works. Get in, grab everything you can, and get out." "What if we can't get out?" asked Corporal Lee. Soo-bin grinned. "Then we blow it up from the inside. Either way, we win." The assault shuttle was launched from the Mars Defense Station at the exact moment when the alien fleet was most distracted by the spinning fighters. It flew straight through the battle, dodging laser beams and missiles, until it crashed into the side of a Vorthak cruiser. The Marines cut through the alien hull with plasma torches and found themselves inside a ship that looked like no human building they had ever seen. The corridors were too tall, the lighting was too blue, and everything was covered with symbols they couldn't read. "Spread out," Soo-bin ordered. "Find the computer core, the weapons control, anything that looks important." What they found was more alien than they had imagined. The ship was run entirely by artificial intelligence with no crew quarters or life support systems. The aliens themselves were connected to the ship through neural interfaces, making them part of the computer system. "This explains a lot," Subin said as she watched alien crew members trying to disconnect from their control stations to fight the intruders. They're not really individuals. They're all parts of one big computer. She planted explosive charges throughout the ship while her Marines gathered alien technology. When the charges exploded, they wouldn't just destroy the ship. They would send a shockwave through the alien network, confusing every other ship in the fleet. Back in the main battle, Commander Tae-hyun was implementing the most important part of his strategy. Instead of trying to protect his ships from alien weapons, he was using them as weapons themselves. All ships, begin ramming sequence, he ordered. The human ships didn't ram the alien vessels directly. Instead, they flew close enough to trigger the aliens' defensive systems, then used their explosion as a weapon against other alien ships. When a human ship was destroyed, its debris was aimed at alien vessels, turning each loss into an attack. "They're insane," the Vorthak commander said, as he watched human ships deliberately sacrifice themselves to damage his fleet. "They're using their own destruction as a weapon." This was exactly what the humans wanted the aliens to think. Every human death was actually planned, and every sacrifice served a purpose. The pilots who died ramming alien ships had already transmitted all their sensor data back to Earth, where it would be used to build better weapons. Lieutenant Yejin was on her final attack run when her fighter was hit by alien laser fire. Her ship was dying, but she was still alive, and she still had one weapon left, herself. "All human forces, this is Ghost 2, she broadcast. "I'm going down, but I'm taking some friends with me." She aimed her crippled fighter at the alien fleet, commander's ship, and activated her emergency beacon. The beacon transmitted everything her sensors had recorded about alien ship design, alien weapons, and alien tactics. Her fighter struck the command ship just as Sergeant Subin's explosives went off on the cruiser. The double explosion sent shock waves through the alien fleet's computer network, causing ships to fire on each other and navigate into asteroids. Commander Tae-hyun watched the chaos with satisfaction. The aliens had superior technology and overwhelming numbers, but they couldn't adapt to human unpredictability. "All remaining ships begin Phase 2, he ordered. Phase 2 was even stranger than Phase 1. The surviving human ships began broadcasting music, poetry, and random conversations on all frequencies. They transmitted human art, human jokes, and human dreams directly into the alien computer network. The effect on the Vorthak fleet was immediate and devastating. Their artificial intelligence systems couldn't process the chaotic creativity of human culture. Ships began malfunctioning as their computers tried to analyze why humans would write songs about lost love or paint pictures of flowers. "What is this?" the alien commander demanded as his control systems were flooded with human data. "What are they transmitting?" "It appears to be cultural information, sir. Art, music, literature, personal messages." "Why would they transmit such things during a battle?" The answer came from Commander Tae-hyun himself, broadcasting on all frequencies. "Because we're human. We fight, we create, we love, we dream, and we do it all at the same time. Can your computers handle that?" They couldn't. The alien fleet began retreating, but not before losing nearly half their ships. The Battle of Mars was over, and humanity had won. But the victory came at a cost. Most of the human defenders were dead or missing. The Mars defense station was heavily damaged. The orbital platforms were destroyed. Yet on Earth, people were celebrating. Not because they had won, but because they had proven something important. "Did you see that?" President Min-ho asked his advisors as they watched recordings of the battle. "Our people didn't just fight bravely. They fought creatively. They turned a space battle into performance art." Dr. Era was monitoring alien communications when she heard something that made her smile. "Admiral Hyun-soo," she called, "the aliens are talking to their home fleet. They're requesting reinforcements." "How many?" "All of them, sir. They're calling every ship in their empire to come to our solar system." Admiral Hyun-soo looked puzzled. Why would they need their entire fleet to finish conquering one planet? Dr. Era played the alien transmission. The Vorthak commander's voice was shaking as he spoke to his superiors. "The humans are not what we expected. They fight like no species we have encountered. They use their deaths as weapons. They attack with art and music, they sacrifice everything, and they do it with joy. We need every ship if we are going to survive this war. The alien fleet limped away from Mars, leaving behind the wreckage of what should have been an easy victory. They had learned something important about humanity. Humans didn't just fight to win, they fought to put on a good show. 6 months had passed since the aliens gave their ultimatum. The Vorthak Empire was still waiting for humanity's official answer, even though they had already received it loud and clear. During this time, both sides prepared for what everyone knew would be the greatest battle in Earth's history. High above Earth's surface in a secret military facility hidden inside an asteroid, Captain Yoon So-young was training her pilots. The Ghost Squadron was humanity's newest weapon, and no one knew they existed except for the highest levels of government. "Listen up," So-young told her pilots as they gathered around a holographic display of an alien ship. "These Vorthak ships are 3 times bigger than ours. They have shields we can't break through with normal weapons. They have guns that can destroy a city block with one shot." The pilots nodded. They had studied the alien technology for months. But, So-young continued with a smile, they have one weakness. They think in straight lines. They follow patterns. They do exactly what their computers tell them to do. She pressed a button and the hologram showed a human fighter weaving between alien ships like a bird flying through a storm. "We don't follow patterns, we do the unexpected. We make it up as we go along, and that's going to drive them crazy." Meanwhile, on Earth, engineer Han Dong-min was working in a laboratory that didn't officially exist. He was the man responsible for creating humanity's secret weapon, an artificial intelligence that could learn and adapt faster than any computer the galaxy had ever seen. "Show me the test results," Dong-min said to his assistant. The screen displayed a simulation of space combat. The human AI was fighting against a copy of Vorthak battle software. In the first battle, the aliens won easily. In the second battle, the humans lost but did better. By the 10th battle, the humans were winning. By the 20th battle, they were destroying the alien ships without taking any damage. "It's learning their tactics," his assistant explained. "Every time they use a strategy, our AI finds a way to counter it. But the amazing thing is it's also learning to be unpredictable. It's developing what we can only call intuition." Dong-min smiled. The aliens think war is mathematics. They're about to learn that the most important part of fighting is the part you can't calculate. Dr. Choi Yoon-jung was studying intercepted alien communications from her office in Seoul. As Earth's leading expert on alien psychology, she had made some disturbing discoveries about humanity's enemies. "They're not like us," she explained to a room full of military commanders via video call. "The Vorthak don't have individual thoughts. They're like a hive mind, all connected to their central computer. When one of them learns something, they all know it instantly." General Park leaned forward on the screen. "That sounds like an advantage for them." "You'd think so," Yoon-jung replied, "but it's actually their biggest weakness. They can't understand chaos. They can't handle randomness. When humans do something that doesn't make logical sense, their minds literally can't process it." She showed them a recording of alien communications she had translated. "Listen to this. One of their commanders intercepted a human radio broadcast yesterday. A soldier named Park Ji-hwan was sending a message to his family. He said, 'Don't worry about me dying in battle. Worry about the aliens having to fight someone who thinks getting shot at is fun.' The alien response was confused panic. They couldn't understand why humans would enjoy danger. They've been studying us for 100 years, Yoon-jung continued. But they still don't understand that humans are the only species in the galaxy that fights wars for fun. Every other race they've conquered fought because they had to. We're fighting because we want to." Sergeant Park Ji-hwan himself was at a training camp in the mountains, preparing new recruits for the coming war. These weren't professional soldiers. They were volunteers from every walk of life. Teachers, farmers, office workers, students. All of them had one thing in common. They couldn't wait to fight aliens. "The first rule of fighting aliens," Ji-hwan told his trainees, "is that there are no rules. The second rule is that if something seems stupid but it works, it's not stupid." He pointed to a young recruit. "You, what did you do before you enlisted?" I was a chef, sir. Good. You know how to use knives and you understand fire. You're now our expert on close combat cooking. Next question. What's the most dangerous thing you can make with kitchen supplies? The recruit thought for a moment. A pressure cooker bomb? Boring. Everyone knows about those. I want you to think bigger, weirder. What would confuse an alien so much that they'd stop shooting long enough for you to kill them? This was the kind of training happening all over Earth. Humans weren't just learning to fight. They were learning to fight in ways that would make no sense to anyone else in the galaxy. In orbit around Jupiter, construction crews were building, something the aliens couldn't identify. The Vorthak had sent spy drones to investigate, but the humans had destroyed them using weapons that seemed to violate the laws of physics. What are they building out there? The Vorthak commander asked. His intelligence officers. We don't know, sir. The structure is too large to be a weapon, too complex to be a ship. And they're using materials we don't recognize. What the aliens didn't know was that humanity was building more than just weapons. They were building a new way of life. A culture based on the idea that any challenge, no matter how dangerous, was just another game to be won. On Luna Command, Admiral Hyun-soo was reading reports from around the solar system. Every piece of news made him more confident about humanity's chances. Sir, Lieutenant Park reported, we're getting applications from people who want to join the military. 300 million applications this week. How many can we actually use? All of them, sir. We've created new categories of service. Combat soldiers, support crew, intelligence gathering, weapon development, psychological warfare, and something called creative chaos specialists. Hyun-soo laughed. Creative chaos specialists? People whose job is to do things that make no logical sense but somehow help win battles. Yesterday, a team of them suggested we paint rainbow colors on our ships to confuse alien targeting systems. Does it work? We tested it. The alien computers couldn't figure out which part of the ship to shoot at, because the colors kept distracting their sensors. Dr. A-Ra was still monitoring alien communications when she discovered something that changed everything. The aliens were starting to argue among themselves. Admiral, she called Hyun-soo to her station. You need to hear this. The alien transmission was heated with multiple voices talking at once. The humans make no sense, one alien commander was saying. They sing while they march to battle. They paint pictures of our ships exploding. Their children draw pictures of space battles like their games. Another alien voice responded, perhaps we underestimated them. Maybe we should send more ships. More ships won't help if we don't understand their strategy. How do you fight an enemy that has no strategy? How do you predict the actions of beings that don't even predict their own actions? Admiral Hyun-soo smiled as he listened. Dr. A-Ra, broadcast this message on all alien frequencies. He picked up the microphone. Attention, Vorthak Empire. You've spent 6 months trying to understand humanity. Here's a free lesson. We don't understand ourselves either. That's what makes this fun. The alien communications went silent for several hours after that. As the 6-month preparation period drew to a close, Earth had transformed into something the galaxy had never seen before. It wasn't just a planet preparing for war. It was a planet that had turned war preparation into an art form. Children played games about fighting aliens. Artists created paintings of imaginary space battles. Musicians wrote symphonies about victory among the stars. Scientists competed to invent the most creative weapons. And in the deepest parts of space, hidden construction projects neared completion. Projects so secret that even most humans didn't know about them. The aliens had wanted to test humanity's strength. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their ability to turn any situation, no matter how dangerous, into something they could enjoy. The morning sun cast long shadows across Luna Command when the first alien ship appeared on the radar screens. Admiral Kim Hyun-soo was drinking his morning coffee when Lieutenant Park ran into his office with wide eyes. Sir, you need to see this, Park said, his voice shaking. Hyun-soo followed the young officer to the main control room. The massive screens showed something that made his blood run cold. Thousands of ships filled the space beyond Earth's moon. They were huge, dark, and shaped like giant spears pointing at Earth. How many? Hyun-soo asked. 10,000 ships, sir. Maybe more. They appeared 15 minutes ago. Dr. Park Ara was already at her station, listening to the alien signals through her headphones. She had studied alien languages for 20 years, waiting for this moment. Her hands moved quickly across her keyboard as she tried to understand what the aliens were saying. They're broadcasting on all channels, she said. Give me a few minutes to translate. Meanwhile, on Earth, people stopped what they were doing to look at the sky. The alien fleet was so large that it blocked out part of the sun. Children pointed up from school playgrounds. Workers stood outside their offices. Everyone knew that everything had changed. President Lee Min-ho sat in the White House Situation Room, surrounded by his advisors. General Kim was on the phone with military bases around the world. Secretary of Defense Choi was reading reports from intelligence agencies. Everyone looked worried except the president. Sir, General Kim said, all our forces are ready. But those ships, we've never seen anything like them. Min-ho nodded slowly. He had been preparing for this day since he became president. Not because he expected aliens, but because he believed humanity needed to be ready for any challenge. Back on Luna Command, Dr. Ara suddenly stood up. Her face was pale, but her eyes were bright with excitement. I've got it, she said. Admiral, you need to hear this. She played the alien message through the speakers. The voice was cold and mechanical, speaking perfect English. People of Earth, we are the Vorthak Empire. We have watched your species for 100 of your years. We have seen your wars, your violence, your chaos. You are a dangerous disease that will spread to other worlds if we do not stop you now. We give you one choice. Surrender your planet and submit to our rule, or we will destroy every human life. You have 24 hours to decide. The room fell silent. Admiral Hyun-soo looked around at his officers. Some looked scared, others looked angry, but in their eyes he saw something else. Something that made him smile. Sir? Lieutenant Park asked. What are your orders? Before Hyun-soo could answer, President Min-ho appeared on the main screen. He was calling from Earth, and behind him stood the leaders of every major country. They all had the same expression on their faces. Admiral, the president said, patch me through to every communication system on Earth and in space. Everyone needs to hear this. Within minutes, every television, radio, and internet connection on Earth was broadcasting the president's message. People gathered around screens in Times Square, in London, in Tokyo, in every city and town on the planet. President Min-ho looked directly into the camera and smiled. My fellow humans, he began. Today we received a message from an alien empire. They have declared war on us. They think we are dangerous. They think we are violent. They think we are chaos. He paused, and his smile grew wider. They are absolutely right. Across the Earth, people began to cheer. In military bases, soldiers stopped cleaning their weapons and started loading them instead. In shipyards, workers began pulling the covers off experimental spacecraft that had been kept secret for years. But here's what these aliens don't understand, the president continued. We humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We've had world wars, civil wars, and every kind of conflict you can imagine. And do you know what we learned from all that fighting? The crowd in Times Square was now chanting something that spread across the globe. We're ready, we're ready. We learned that there is nothing in this universe that can break the human spirit. We learned that when someone threatens our home, we don't run away, we don't surrender, we fight and we win. Admiral Hyun-soo watched the president's speech while monitoring reports from around the world. Military recruitment centers were being flooded with volunteers. Retired soldiers were coming out of retirement. Scientists were calling their labs to start working on new weapons. Engineers were drawing up plans for battleships. These aliens picked the wrong species to threaten, President Min-ho said. They wanted to give us a trial by fire? We accept. They want to test our strength? We welcome the test. They think they can break us? Let them try. Dr. Ara was recording everything the aliens transmitted. She noticed something strange. The alien messages were becoming more frequent, and they sounded confused. They were intercepting human communications and trying to understand why humans were celebrating instead of panicking. Admiral, she said, The aliens are talking to each other. They don't understand our response. One of their commanders just asked, "Why are they singing?" Indeed, across Earth, people were singing. Old war songs, national anthems, and new songs, made up on the spot about fighting aliens. In London, pub customers were singing drinking songs about space battles. In Seoul, students were writing rap songs about defending Earth. In São Paulo, samba dancers were performing routines about victory over the aliens. President Minho's speech continued. "We have 24 hours to give them our answer, but I think they already know what we're going to say. The answer is no. We will not surrender. We will not submit. We will not go quietly into the night." He stood up and looked directly at the camera. "Instead, we're going to show these aliens what happens when you declare war on humanity. We're going to teach them that humans don't just fight to survive. We fight to win. We fight for sport. We fight because it's Tuesday, and we're bored." The cheering around the world grew so loud that it could be heard from space. "So bring your 10,000 ships," the president said. "Bring your advanced technology. Bring your best warriors, because we're going to send you home with a story to tell. Your grandchildren about the day you met humanity." As the president's speech ended, Admiral Hyun-soo turned to his staff. They were all grinning like children on Christmas morning. "You heard the president," Hyun-soo said. "We have a war to prepare for. Lieutenant Park, send a message to all human forces. Welcome to the greatest training exercise in human history." "Sir," Dr. Ara interrupted. "The aliens are broadcasting again." The alien voice came through the speakers, but this time it sounded less certain. "Humans of Earth, we do not understand your response. You should be afraid. You should be begging for mercy. Why are you celebrating?" Admiral Hyun-soo picked up the microphone and broadcast his response on all frequencies. "Because," he said simply, "we've been waiting our whole lives for a fight worth having." The alien transmission went silent. On Earth, the celebration continued, but now it was mixed with the sound of factories starting production, soldiers marching to their posts, and spacecraft engines being tested. Humanity was preparing for war, and they were doing it with joy in their hearts. The aliens had declared war on Earth, expecting to face a terrified, desperate species. Instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous, a species that considered war to be the ultimate sport, and who had finally found worthy opponents to play against.